Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Guy Dawson Show at the World Center of Broadcast Media, WCOBM.com. My name is Guy Dawson, and I am the managing member of Classy Communications, a full-service media and marketing company. And if you would like to bring greater recognition to your business, your organization, or yourself personally, please get in contact with us at 702-845-6129 or visit our website, classycommunications.net. We are coming to you live from the Gene Woods Racing Experience in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, just a stone throw from the Las Vegas Strip, and I am excited to be back in the studio. Corintha Turvalon, the queen of all media, took over the show last week while I was away, but I'm happy to be back now. She's away this week, off doing something, and I have another hostess with the mostest in the studio with me today. It is Meredith Allen of the Meredith Show.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on the Guy Dawson Show.
I know, boy, we got two people who have their names on their shows.
It's pretty cool. It doesn't happen every day, does it now? Actually, I almost missed my opportunity. You're being very cool, but I got lost on the way to the studio.
Well,
has that ever happened?
Yes, it happens.
It happens from time to time.
Misdirection. It's not all that. Well, we're at a go-kart track.
Yeah, that was a little confusing. I thought that I expected to see them, but I wound up somehow behind batting gauges. I don't know.
These things happen. The Gene Woods Racing Experience is a wonderful place to come and race go-karts. And are you into go-karts?
Actually, I would love to ride in some. I haven't done it in years, but it was always a very fun thing to do. Do you get out there much?
I haven't been out in about a year, but they're fast.
Maybe it's time.
Yes, I'm way overdue, and last time I got out there, we had
I'm gonna take off my jacket
just
in case you invite me to go out. Okay, I'm ready.
When you race, don't race against 16-year-old kids who are race car drivers.
You do not. Do not.
Because they make you look ridiculous. That's what happened the last time. We had a benefit out there, and it was these young kids were a part of the benefit, and they made all the adults look really bad.
I mean, how do you do go-kart racing badly?
Well, when they lap you 4 times.
Oh, when they smoke you is what you're saying, and then it happens?
When you get lapped 4 times, I would say that's probably not being a very good go-kart driver.
Well, I guess as I've gotten older, it's not about the race. It's about the journey, right?
Well, yes,
and
I guess.
Coming in first isn't the most important thing, but finishing the race is important.
Well,
right?
I did finish. It doesn't feel like that, though, when you see the same kid will go around you.
Do figure eights or something like that. And now, is it dangerous?
No, they go about 40 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a very safe environment.
Fun family.
And it's so much fun, and we always encourage people to come out to the Gene Woods Racing Experience. And I have known Meredith for probably about 6 months. Huh?
Yes, we've had the pleasure. It feels like a long time, though, because it seems like every time we talk and we get together, we find out we have one more thing in common.
Right, yeah.
It's pretty wild.
You and your broadcasting background, and she has a wonderful story about how she got into broadcasting, and so I would like for you to share that with our audience.
The beginning.
How'd you get into
where it all started. Well, the truth of the matter was I was very lucky. My high school had a TV studio, and like any real TV studio, they actually had auditions, so I thought, let me give it a go. And one day, when I got the gig in high school, I looked into the camera and I thought, people actually get paid to do this?
No.
I'm in.
Yeah.
And then, luck and some cool fate intervened, and I got a couple of really neat opportunities where I interned with CBS and NBC in high school. And then I was like, wow, this is like really cool. Like, I thought the high school studio was neat. This is like big time. And it led me to college where I interned, and I always had a little obsession with Barbara Walters. And
Barbara Wawa. That's a great mentor, though. You couldn't have isn't she the lady? She made everybody cry, right?
Yes. I'm not so good at that, so don't worry, Guy. You can keep smiling. I'm not going to use that power on you. However, she was actually very nice to me, and I had the pleasure of, do you set intentions?
Absolutely.
I think I didn't realize I was doing it. It's only now that I've gotten older that, this whole Barbara Walters thing, every time I meet somebody, and it was embarrassing in college. Hi, my name is Meredith. I'm going to retire Barbara Walters.
That's what you would say to people?
That's what I would say. And they were like, seriously? And then, as luck would have it, she started a new show called The View when I was in college. And so, yes. And so I had another internship set up in PR. Understand that's your forte.
Yes.
And the dean of my college set it up for me when I was in school. But I was working at a resort in summers where some celebrity types would come in. And we were working at the front desk, my friend and I, and she said, switch spots with me. And I'm like, what's going on here? She's like, trust me. So we switched. And I looked down into the computer and I looked up at the person in front of me and I said, so, Mr. Wallace, I see, you work at ABC News in New York? And he said, yes, actually I do. I said, oh, really? I said, that's awesome because I'm going to retire Barbara Walters. And then he looked at me and said, Meredith? And I went, how'd you know my name? I'm like, the name tag. He said, well, then you want to work with me because I'm her producer. That really happened.
Huh.
Yeah, so I had to go back to school and have a little meeting with the dean, and he was mad that I was going to give up his PR internship and trade it in for the Barbara Walters experience.
The power of intention.
Yes, but it was like, if you speak it, I guess it was destiny that he was going to be in the hotel that I worked in during college, his producer, and in fact, I'm probably going to get in trouble, but I'm going to tell you a secret.
Oh boy, we get to be in on a secret, all of us.
A big secret. I won't say this producer's names because there are some other producers who've worked with Barbara Walters, but he said, if you're lucky, you'll get to meet all the crazies. Who were the crazies, you might ask?
Who were the
Barbara Walters. Hugh Downs, her co-host for many years.
Hugh Downs. Yeah, he's a great guy too.
Yeah. Oh, he was like a big teddy bear. When I finally got in for that internship, guy, I was so starstruck. I used to just hang out outside of Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters' office, like, maybe they'll talk to me. And then finally, they got sick of seeing me. They're like, would you like to come inside? And Hugh Downs was the nicest man. And for those who are just tuning in who might not know who he is, he was the co-host on 60 Minutes. 2020 for many, many years. And almost like Barbara Walters' right-hand person for many years. And so nice and kind and down to earth. Really, really cool.
I've heard a lot of good things about Hugh Downs, and he actually is one of the people that I really emulate in the industry. Is he alive? Has he passed?
I need to do my homework because I had that great... I know he retired from television and went into the radio world full-time, which apparently he always had a nice presence in radio. And I'm not sure. I haven't kept up. But, Barbara Walters has since pretty much retired, and her show The View goes on without her. It's pretty wild.
Right. Many years later,
yes, isn't that
her legacy of this show that she created, which it was a lot more journalistic, I guess, back then.
Yeah, it's a little more talk and fun, but it is nice to see that they try and balance it out with different perspectives. I see through the years, there have been so many co-hosts who've come and gone. I believe Joy Behar is the one long-standing that when I was still there on the show. So get this. So I got to work with Barbara Walters at 2020, and then I went up to Barbara Walters. I got the nerve at a Christmas party, and I said, I have an opportunity to go work at MTV, and I always thought that'd be really cool. And she said, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I kind of like to do what you're doing. She said, then you want to work on a talk show, and I have this new show, The View. And so I went to The View. And then from there, I went to be the first intern in history to work on Barbara Walters specials. Have you ever seen those?
Really?
Yeah,
yeah.
Fascinating people every year.
I remember Barbara Walters specials.
Mm-hmm. They still go on from what I understand. It's an annual thing, fascinating, 10 most fascinating, and things of that nature. And it's actually only like 5 people in the whole world who work on that. So being an intern and that atmosphere was wild. It was very exciting.
That must have been a great experience. And so you were working with Barbara Walters on a regular basis. And what did you learn from her? What more than anything do you remember about that?
You know what's really shocking is do your homework. She wouldn't interview somebody unless there was a famous book compiled of every question that's ever been asked so as not to repeat it. She was a true perfectionist, hard worker, and really took pride in asking the questions nobody asked. And many people just show up, right? Today, we didn't know what we were going to talk about. I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun, but that was a whole other world that I had never even dreamt of. I mean, a book. Could you imagine that? What would I have to ask you if we we did that book for you?
Like you said, she made sure that she didn't ask any questions that hadn't been, and that was
crazy.
What really made Barbara Walters famous was the fact that she was such a good journalist. I mean, the fact that she made people cry, a lot of that is because she was probably asking them things that they had never been asked before.
Sure, the tough
Makes a lot of
questions,
sense.
the hard questions, the things that people really want to know, but didn't have the nerve to ask, maybe, right?
Right, and that's what made her so popular and allowed her to create her own show and have specials, and so that's a great person to be mentored by.
I was very lucky. Now, I would say that she was so famous, in fact, that, it was a little bit unusual. Like, going places with her, she would have an entourage. So when I first got there, I kind of was like, how am I gonna get to know her if she always has 6 people surrounding her like bodyguards, right? I mean, there's a hair person, a makeup person, an assistant, the assistant's assistants, the publicist. So, guy knows the story, but people at home might not have. I'm not proud of this, but it really happened. So, just like everybody else, Barbara Walters pees. So I followed her to the one place most people wouldn't go to get the scoop. And then once inside this inner sanctum, the restroom at ABC News, I realized this is awkward and really weird. Probably not the best place to strike up a conversation, but I can confirm Barbara Walters pees.
Well, I assume that.
But I'm telling you, I can
So
confirm.
how did your interaction?
I chickened out. I pretty much sat there silently listening to Barbara Walters pee and decided it was too weird to talk. When we did wash our hands, but she has this thing. We call it the Barbara Walters zone, where she has these like eyes that don't look to the left and right. They're just forward. And I think, honestly, it might be a product of being so famous that everybody is trying to get your attention, so she just kind of zones into her own world. So there was no opportunity there, but I did, as I started to say, work up my nerve at like the Christmas party. I remember saying, talking to her a little bit, going up and saying my grandmother would love it if we could take a photo together. And honestly, that was like the biggest thing since sliced pie when I took that photo with Barbara and gave it to my grandmother. This is before digital, right? So Lord knows where that picture wound up, but rumor has it.
So you don't have it?
No,
you don't have that picture anymore?
rumor has it she took it to the doctor's office and showed people. And she just like took it around with her, and
I
then
can imagine.
Yeah, and then sadly, as she got older in age, she lived in Florida and moved to Texas to be with my aunt and uncle, a little closer to more family. She outlived all of her close relatives besides her children. It was actually quite sad in Florida. So when in the transition and the move, never knew what happened to that picture of me and Babs. Bummer. But the truth is, it was the experience. I mean, everybody should have that opportunity to see somebody up close and personal that they admire so much. I wish that for everyone.
I mean, your background is so much different than my background. I told you I walked into a studio 6 years ago, and I became a radio broadcaster.
That is pretty awesome, guy.
So I have a much different experience than you do, because you were really cultivated.
Well, I
would become
yes and no. I think
a journalist.
Are you ever really totally prepared? I went to school, certainly, for communications and took journalism courses. But I would say, and I wonder if you find this to be true, the real learning goes from jumping in. So that's why, I mean, honestly, I would never have the ease and the comfort talking to you had I not jumped in at some point and said, okay, I could have crazy hair right now. It could be happening, but it doesn't really matter, just show up and give your best.
I've met people in the business through the time that I've been on the radio and been doing this show who've told me about the degrees that they got from Columbia School of Broadcasting and all these different places, and I just think that's wonderful. But you're right. The real proof is when you get in a studio, can you manage this?
Yes.
Because as you know,
yes,
you know how to do this, and I know how to do this, but it's not as easy as you would think.
No, I almost said a curse word, but I didn't know what's allowed on the internet. No, the truth is, I was going to say, heck no, because the truth is, I found, and I don't know if you would agree with this, but we'll just roll with it, that The real fun happens when you get comfortable to be yourself. Because when I first started out, I'll never forget this, you would laugh so hard. I remember being a broadcaster in Philadelphia at a very young age and being live on the air in a snowstorm. And I was like, we're live right now, and in 4 minutes, I will give you an update of the temperature. Stay with us. We'll be right back. I'm Meredith. And then I would go off the air on my camera and be like, my cameraman would just give me that look, and I would say, like, well, I remember, I'll never forget this, Mario, what's the deal? And he looked at me, he goes, I like you better off the air than on the air. And I'm like, ooh, that hurt. What is he talking about? Well, he's talking about I was doing my broadcaster voice.
Right.
Phony baloney. You can pick that out and, like, so easily.
I had someone very early on, an engineer that I had at one of the stations that I first started broadcasting my radio show. And I went in and I would ask a lot of questions. Now, that's how I got my schooling in broadcasting, was I hung around a lot of radio people who had a lot of years, and I just asked questions, kind of like what you're. And so I would ask him everything, but I was asking him, what is one of the keys that you've seen through all the years and in broadcasting to people having longevity? And he says, Guy, just be who you are. Don't have a persona. Don't be anything different than who you are, and you will be fine.
Yes, because people can pick up on the fakes. I know you've seen it. I've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not pretty. And it definitely, I mean, unless you're making fun of it, you don't stay with it too long if you're watching TV for sure. Because it's just like, ooh, that's really bad. Ooh, what are they going to say next? It's like a train wreck at times, and that's not what you want to go for. You want to go for real. Like it, good, bad, or ugly, keep it real.
Right, and those are the people who do well on The View and all these shows. It seems that the ones who are the most genuine are the ones who last, because those are the ones that we can relate to, right? Those are people when you know someone's not putting on a facade.
Like that front. I know. And trust me, I've worked with some divas. Let's face it, in TV, are you kidding me? There are people like, I need 20 more minutes in here and I don't care what my deadline is. And you're like, seriously? Come on, keep it real. I mean, so I need to know, what's going on right here? How many people are working on your show? Are there 4 of us total today, or are there several?
There are a total of 4 people right now who are responsible for the production of this show.
Wow.
Pretty small set.
No, that's pretty cool. And actually, I've been there when it was all by myself. And I had a teleprompter I was running with my foot. And I was on NBC, believe it or not. And trust me, when the teleprompter goes backwards, it really shows where the talent lies.
Tell me about that. I've never used a teleprompter.
Oh, Guy, are you kidding me? So, well, there are a couple things. One time, this is really funny, used to help out your coworkers, right? So the sports guy was doing sports, and I'm running his teleprompter for him so he can have his hands free to talk about the play, whatever. So I'm running his teleprompter, and at the end of segments, sometimes, not always, they switch camera shots. Like we look like we have 3 right now. Well, they switch the camera shots up, and they go from a tight shot on him to a wide shot with me, and I'm like in a trance, like looking at the teleprompter, making sure I'm keeping up with his lines. And then I see he's not saying his lines, and then suddenly he's like, Meredith? And then Houston to Meredith, this awkward shot of me going, what?
On live TV?
And live TV, yeah. And then, that reminds me of another one that people enjoy hearing about. Okay, I don't know about you, but do you come into work sick? I do too. I just keep going. I'm like a machine. I can't call out sick. Well, when you're the morning anchor for the news station and you start turning shades of green, people notice. So I'm live, and I must have just had a severe cold, maybe the flu, and in my crazy head, I thought green tea is the answer. So I'm pounding green tea, pounding it. I'm like, it's going to help my sinuses open up. I'm going to breathe. It's going to be great. And then I had a camera. My director, who would speak to me through my earpiece, was like, dude, you're really getting green. Dude, code red. Oh, dude, we got 30 till commercial. I literally started turning green. And then I got scared because the intensity in my earpiece, she's going, whoa, dude, never saw you this green. And I'm like, I'm thinking if I could yell back at her, I would, but I'm reading the news.
Blend right into the green screen.
And then she's like, dude, you've got 30 seconds. And I'm like, what? 30 seconds to break. Can you make it, dude? And then I started thinking, ooh, I've got to throw up. This could happen live in front of millions of viewers. I might vomit. So she's like, dude, 15, come on, you got it. Dude, 5 seconds. And she calls me dude all the time, or she's still to this day. And she's like, dude, we're out. And then
Oh.
Vomited all over projectile vomited. She goes, dude, that was awesome. You missed vomiting on TV by 1 second. True story.
What? I have never had a segment quite like this one, Meredith. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll come back. I'm sure you have a lot of other wonderful stories. I don't know if they necessarily involve vomit.
No, that's the only one.
But we will see. We'll be back in a few minutes with more of the Guy Dawson Show.